Okay, happy Tuesday morning to the viewing audience whenever you're watching this. Welcome back to Bandit Network and welcome back to the IDAHO4 case. So in this video, I don't want to be repetitive, but I do want to take a closer look at Bryan Kohberger's alleged alibi, which we spoke about yesterday in the podcast. We all know by now that Bryan Kohberger's defense team is claiming that his alibi was he was out driving alone the late night of November 12th into November 13th of 2022. He was out driving alone. And according to Miss Ann Taylor, his public defender, he's had a long habit of doing this. If you guys remember in the probable cause affidavit, a lot of people, they don't like to reference the probable cause affidavit because some people, I don't know, it's useless. Some people describe it as being useless. But I find it, if you go back to the original version, it gives a headway to where we're currently at. And I'm about to show you. I'm asking, this can go either way, his alibi. You know, his alibi can either hurt him or it can benefit him. And that's why I said yesterday, unless you have something to back up that his vehicle, the 2015 white Hyundai Elantra, was nowhere near the King Road residence at the time of the murders, that would support his alibi with him driving alone. However, in the probable cause affidavit, which right here, this portion of it, on November 13th, 2022, between 3 a.m. and 5 a.m., after determining that Kohberger was associated to both the 2015 white Hyundai Elantra and the phone number ending in 8458, investigators reviewed the search warrants returned. A query of the 8458 phone number in these returns did not show that 8458 phone number utilizing cellular tower resources is close proximity to the King Road residence between 3 a.m. and 5 a.m. So an inquiry of the 8458 phone number in these returns did not show the 8458 phone number utilizing cellular tower resources in close proximity to King Road residence between 3 a.m. and 5 a.m. So it says that the phone was not pinging between 3 to 5 a.m. Let's go down here further. So based on my training, experience, and conversations with law enforcement officers that specialize in the utilization of cellular telephone records as a part of investigations, individuals can either leave their cellular phone at a different location before committing a crime or turn their cell phone off prior to going into the location to commit a crime. This is done by subjects in efforts to avoid alerting law enforcement that cellular device associated with them was in a particular area where the crime is committed. So in other words, they don't want their phone being in the same location as they were at the crime scene. That's what they are accusing Kohberger of doing. Apparently, he turned his phone off, turned it on airplane mode. I don't know what happened. We don't know what he did exactly, but that's what they're alluding to here. I also know on numerous occasions, subjects will survey an area where they intend to commit a crime prior to the date of the crime. Depending on the circumstances, this could be a few days before, several months prior to the commission of a crime. During these surveillances, it is possible that an individual would not leave their cellular phone at a separate location or turn it off since they did not plan to commit an offense on that particular day. So let's pause right there. Like what Bryan Kohberger'S defense team is claiming, I have to stretch. I haven't stretched this morning. Like what his defense team is claiming, he had a long habit of going for midnight drives, late night drives, however you want to phrase it, taking long drives at night. Who's to say, and I'm playing devil's advocate here, that indeed he was out driving alone because he could not sleep. His insomnia was keeping him up. His what is it? The static vision, whatever it is, visual snow syndrome is keeping him up. So he went out for late night drives, evening drives, into the early morning hours. But let the prosecution tell it, no, he was just scoping out that place. He was scoping out the place, planning and plotting what he was going to do that morning. I mean, it can go either way. That's why I continue to reiterate, there needs to be some type of proof placing his car away from the crime scene at the time of the murders. Okay. But for him not to turn off his phone, if he was indeed plotting and planning, making a dry run, as some may say, phrase it, making a dry run, you would think that he would have enough sense to turn off his phone during the dry runs. That way he's completely eliminated from being in the area. That way, if the defense comes back and says, well, he had a long-term, or he had a long habit of taking midnight drives or early morning drives, they can go back and look at the records indicating, well, his phone was never pinging in this area. Maybe he did like to take midnight drives, but it wasn't in this area. It wasn't in Moscow, Idaho. It was in somewhere else. Or maybe he actually liked to take midnight drives. There was no reason for him to turn his phone off. I mean, what is the truth? On December 23rd, 2022, I applied IDAHO4 and was granted a search warrant for historical phone records between November 12th, 2022 at 12 a.m. and November 14th at 12 a.m. for the 8458 phone number held by the phone provider AT&T approximately 24 hours preceding and following the times of the homicides. On December 23, 2022, pursuant to the search warrant, I received records for the 8458 phone number from AT&T. These records indicated that the 8458 phone number is subscribed to Bryan Kohberger at an address in Albrightsville, Pennsylvania. And the account has been open since June 23rd of 2022. Okay. So it's been said that Bryan, we don't know exactly when he moved to Pullman, Washington from Pennsylvania, but it was sometime between June and August because classes began in August and the phone was opened up in June. Well, according to what we just read, June 23rd. So the phone record was opened up since June 23rd. Over here on Reddit. Hold on for one sec. I don't like this layout. Oh, well. Okay, it is what it is. So over here on Reddit, they were saying that, let's see, it shows classes started on August 22nd, so he probably would have been there a few weeks prior to my guess. Now keep in mind, this is all speculation, but between June 23rd and August 22nd, roughly 2 months, and he only followed up with his master's degree in June 2022 from DeSales. So I don't think it would have been immediately moved to Washington in the same month. So let's just say July as a rough estimate. July of 2022, allegedly between June and August, so I'm going to say July, he allegedly moved to Pullman, Washington, and opened up this phone account. Or did he open up the phone account in Albrightsville, Pennsylvania, considering that he had a Pennsylvania phone number? I don't know. After receiving this information, let me go back over to the PCA. After receiving this information, I consulted with the FBI Special Agent SA that it is certified as a member of the Cellular Analyst Survey Team, CAST. Members of CAST are certified with the FBI to provide expert testimony in the field of historical CSLI and are required to pass extensive training that includes both written and particular examinations prior to being certified by CAST, as well as the completion of yearly certification requirements. Blah, 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 blah. You know, it's just, you know, our sources are verified. That's what that's saying. And let's see. Additionally, the FBI CAST SA I consulted with has over 15 years of federal law enforcement experience. So from information provided by CAST, I was able to determine an estimated locations for the 8458 phone from November 12th, 2022 to November 13th of 2022, the time period authorized by the court. So it says right here that on November 13th, 2022, at approximately 2:42 a.m., the 8458 phone number was utilizing cellular resources that provided coverage to 1630 Northeast Valley Road, apartment G201, Bryan Kohberger's apartment in Pullman, Washington, here after Kohberger's residence. At approximately 2:48 a.m., the 8458 phone number utilizes cellular resources that provided coverage southeast of Kohberger's residence, consisting with the 8458 phone number leaving the Kohberger residence and traveling south through Pullman, Washington. Okay. This is consistent with the movement of the white Elantra at approximately 2:48 or 2:47 a.m. The 8458 phone number. So this is the time that's leading up to the homicides. The 8458 phone number phone stops reporting to the network. So this is where they believe that he turned off his phone or turned it on airplane mode. He went under the radar. That's what they're believing here. So it stopped being in the without cellular cover. The connection to the network is disabled. Yes. So approximately at 2:47 a.m., that's when they believe that he turned off his phone or put it on airplane mode, however way you want to do it. The 8458 phone number does not report to the network again until approximately 4:48 a.m. So if he was out, I know what some people were thinking. If he was out just taking a midnight stroll and he wasn't up to anything nefarious, why would he need to turn off his phone? Why would he need to turn it on airplane mode if he was not up to anything nefarious? Let's just be real, y'all. Let's just be completely honest. If you just out taking a midnight stroll, okay, trying to clear your mind, and you ain't up to anything nefarious, honey, then why the hell would you need to turn your phone on airplane mode? Unless you don't want your location to be tracked. I'm just saying. Okay. So that, even if you were out, they have his phone number. This is where it's going to get difficult to prove this alibi or back it up. They have his phone pings. So even if he was out taking a midnight stroll, the prosecution is going to ask, okay, Kohberger, well, why did you turn off your phone? Why did you turn it on airplane mode? Why was it disconnected from the network? Did the phone die? Is that, I don't know, did the phone die? From my understanding, your phone is still connected to the network even after the actual vessel dies. It's still, it's still connected. You would have to turn it on airplane mode for it to lose. Maybe I'm just talking out my ass, but I'm just reading too much into this. Regardless, they would have to argue a reasonable explanation. Why did you turn off your phone? Why was your phone disconnected from the network? Okay. The 8458 phone number does not report to the network again until approximately 4:48 a.m. Okay, so 2:47 from 4:48. About 2 hours, it lost connection to the network. It lost connection to the network for 2 hours, y'all. So even if they did want to say, well, his phone died. His phone died. You don't carry a phone charger in your car? Why would you need to turn your phone on airplane mode for 2 hours? Was it a mistake? I mean, make it make sense. If anybody can make it make sense, please do. And by the way, guys, do not shy away if you are listening on the replay. Do not shy away from voicing your thoughts and speaking your piece, even if it is different from what I believe. I'm all open to thoughts, opinions, and theories, even if they go against mine. Personally, I think that Kohberger had help. I don't think that he's innocent, but I don't think that he's the only one that is responsible for these crimes. But then again, I could be wrong. That being said, no one on this platform needs to be silenced for simply giving their opinion. Now, if you're out here spreading misinformation, and if you're out here giving alternative facts and presenting them as the truth, that's a problem. That is a major problem, and you probably don't need to be on YouTube. But if you're just out here giving your opinion, because this is an ongoing investigation. If you're just out here giving your opinion, speaking your piece, there's nothing wrong with that. I do welcome it over here on my channel. For the people that think that Kohberger is innocent, tell me why. Why do you think that he's innocent? For the people that think he's guilty, also tell me why. And what do you think about this information? Do you think this alibi can hurt or help Mr. Kohberger? Because they have his phone. They have his phone right here. So even if he wanted to say he was out taking a midnight drive because I can't sleep, one of the questions I would ask as a prosecutor would be, okay, why did your phone lose connection? Well, that wasn't him traveling in the area. He was at a different location. Prove it. You have to prove that car was nowhere near the King Road residence. And even if it was in Moscow, Idaho, that's going to be even harder to come up with an explanation. I'm just saying. The 8458 phone number does not report back to the network again until 4:48 a.m., repeated 3 times. So he turned his phone off, allegedly, turned it on airplane mode for 2 hours without being on an actual airplane. At which time it utilized cellular resources that provided coverage to Idaho State Highway 95 south of Moscow into Blaine, Idaho. Between 4:50 and 5:26 a.m., the phone utilizes cellular resources that are consistent with the 8458 phone number, traveling south on Idaho State Highway 95 into Ginseng, Idaho, then traveling west towards Uniontown, Idaho, and then northbound into Pullman, Washington. At approximately 5:30 a.m., the 8458 phone number is utilizing resources that provide coverage to Pullman, Washington, and consistent with the phone traveling back to Kohberger's residence. The 8458's phone movements are consistent with the movements of the white Elantra that is observed traveling on Stadium Drive at approximately 5:27 a.m. So, again, this would have been a strong alibi if they did not, well, I don't want to say strong, but it would have been a decently put alibi if they did not have his phone pings. They're able to pin the phone to the exact approximate locations and the route traveled by the Hyundai Elantra. Again, I think it would just been better off if they said that he was home asleep and he didn't have an alibi. I don't know. You know, because you see, if they did not, considering that they did not have his phone pings, his argument of taking midnight drives because he can't sleep or whatever the reason would have been valid. They're like, yeah, I was out that morning along with a lot of other people, probably going to work, doing the same thing I was, out driving, just chilling like a villain. I wasn't doing anything nefarious. But Mr. Kohberger, your phone was pinging at this location at this time with your car in the same area. Plus, you turned it off for 2 hours on airplane mode. It lost connection for 2 hours. And then sporadically turned back up on the network as soon as you entered back into Pullman, Washington. Of course, we don't know all the information what the state has. We don't know the information what the defense has. The defense is claiming that the witnesses are going to be cross-examined at trial. Excuse me. So if he actually has witnesses, then that's going to be a complete U-turn. But if this is all they have, he was out driving alone. Well, even in the PCA, they were able to pin his phone to the location of the car. And his car route, the route taken to Moscow, allegedly what he took, matched up with the phone pings, even if he turned it off for 2 hours. Again, I don't want to sound like a broken record, but that's one of the things that does not look good. Why would you turn your phone off for 2 hours and then turn it back on? And then here's another thing. Even if you want to say, well, you know, it died. Again, you keep a phone. Who does not have a phone charger in their car? But they believe that he turned it on airplane mode. There's a difference. There is a difference. If you turn your phone on airplane mode, it disenables the network connection. And you know what? I just thought about something. So even if his phone was on airplane mode, if he was at 1122 King and his Wi-Fi was on, then the Wi-Fi could still connect to that phone, or the phone would connect to the Wi-Fi, reverse that. the phone would still connect to the Wi-Fi even if his phone was on airplane mode. And even if he did not use the Wi-Fi at 1122 King Road in Moscow, Idaho, his phone would still attempt to pick up on that IP address of the Wi-Fi, which would again pinpoint him to the residence. Now, I'm not saying this is true. This has not been verified, but it's just something that came to my head as soon as I said he turned his phone off airplane mode. Well, his phone could still be linked to that house via Wi-Fi because his phone's going to try to connect to the Wi-Fi. If I'm making any sense. Further review indicated that the 8458 phone number utilized cellular resources on November 13th, 2022 that are consistent with the 8458 phone number leaving the area of Kohberger's residence at approximately 9 a.m. and traveling to Moscow, Idaho. This is, again, why they believe that he went back to the crime scene for whatever reason. Who knows? To see if anybody found out, maybe, or was it a whoopsies? Oopsies. I forgot the knife sheath. I have to go back. And then he was like, well, damn it. Dylan Mortensen is up. I can't go back. So they tracked his phone going back into Moscow, Idaho, approximately at 9 a.m. Seems like that he didn't get any sleep that night. Had a long habit of staying out late at night, taking drives, huh? Taking drives late at night. Well, he was out all night. Is that all he did? Was drive around all fucking night and then into the early morning hours? Like, you just a sleepwalker, aren't you? I'm just being funny. I'm being sarcastic. Specifically, the 8458 phone number utilized cellular resources that would provide coverage to the King Road residents between 9:12 a.m. and 9:21 a.m. Now, mind you, the 911 call did not come in until I don't know exactly what it was, but it was 11 something the same morning. That's when the police were called. The 8458 phone number next utilized cellular resources that are consistent with the 8458 phone number traveling back to the area of Kohberger's residence and arriving to the area at approximately 9:32 a.m. Okay, so roughly 32 minutes it takes for him to go back into Moscow and head back to Pullman, Washington, allegedly. Below is a description, not a scale, of the possible route taken off cellular site locations. Okay. So you can see right here, if he wanted to, if he was just taking a midnight drive, it would make sense for him to take this long route into Moscow, Idaho. But here's the thing. Why would you go to Moscow, Idaho, Bryan? Out of all places, why would you go to Moscow? You know, I don't know about you, but whenever I was taking late night drives to clear my mind, listening to music in the car, I would go random places, but I wouldn't go directly into a city. Why? Of course, I'm not going to compare myself to Bryan Kohberger. I don't want to do that. I'm just saying, this is what I did, you know. But why Moscow? Out of all places that he could win, why Moscow? If he was taking a late night drive. What's in Moscow? Investigators found that the 8458 phone number did connect to a cell tower that provides service to Moscow on November 14th, 2022. So that's interesting. Investigators found that the 8458 phone number did connect to a cell phone tower that provides service to Moscow on November 14th, 2022, but investigators do not believe the 8458 phone number was in Moscow on that date. Yeah, well, I mean, I was about to say, because the way that it the way that it was worded was implying that he went back the following day, which is quite ballsy of him doing that. The 8458 phone number has not connected to any cell towers that provided service to Moscow since that date. Okay, here's another thing with my bougie defense devil's advocate tactics, my unprofessionalism. Bryan Kohberger, if you were, taking midnight drives out alone, why did you all of a sudden stop? Why did you all of a sudden just stop taking midnight drives on November 13th? Seems to me that, yeah, it's a terrible thing that happened in Moscow, Idaho, right? Is there something that you were trying to avoid because you were so happy-go-lucky going into the area before 12 different times? Which is not a lot, mind you. It's really not a lot. Once you think of how many times your cell phone pings from a cell tower, that's not a lot. Again, we're just... I'm playing devil's advocate, but why did he stop taking nightly drives post November 13th? If he's not guilty, he wouldn't have any problem going back into the area, wouldn't he? If he's not associated with what happened, he would have no problem going back into the area. Just carry on, continue what you're doing. Nothing to see here. I do find this interesting, though. Investigators found that the 8458 phone number did connect to a cell phone tower that provides service to Moscow on November 14th. Well, how did they know that he was not in the area on November 14th for certain? If he went back just a few hours after the crime scene happened, who's to say that he was not in the area allegedly on November 14th? They just believe. They do not believe. Now, mind you, this is a PCA, probable cause affidavit, which a lot has been redacted from. This is just the bare bones, if you want to say that, of reason why they believe Bryan Kohberger is guilty of the 4 crimes committed. So they can't actually, I'm not claiming to know more than law enforcement, but I'm just saying, he could have very well been in the area on November 14th. Who knows? It's just another sign of guilt. Why would he not be in the area again after November 13th if he did not have anything to do with this crime? Based on my training, experience, and the facts of the investigation thus far, I believe that Bryan Kohberger, the user of the 8458 phone number, was likely the driver of the white Hyundai Elantra, which that is observed departing Pullman, Washington. And this vehicle is likely suspect vehicle 1. Additionally, the route of travel of the 8458 phone number during the early morning hours of November 13th, 2022, and the lack of the 8458 phone number reporting to the AT&T between 2:47 a.m. and 4:48 a.m. is consistent with Kohberger attempting to conceal his location during the quadruple homicide that occurred at the King Road residence. So basically what I just said, why did you turn off your phone? Is anybody else going to ask that question? Like, why did he turn off his phone if he was taking a midnight stroll? What reason why his phone did not connect to the network? I should stop saying that he turned off his phone, because he did more than turn off his phone. He disconnected it from the network. Why? Does this alibi hurt or help Kohberger? Referring back to the PCA, does it actually help him or does it hurt him? You guys tell me what you think. If you're watching right now on the live, you can comment below, or if you're watching on the replay, then you can do that too. On December 23rd, 2022, I was granted a search warrant for Kohberger's historical CSLI from June 23rd, 2022 to current. Prospective location information and a pin registered /trap and trace on the 8458 phone number in aids to effort to determine if Kohberger stalked any of the victims in this case prior to the offense. Conducted surveillance on the King Road residence, was in contact of the victims, being sure that it's still screen sharing, with any of the victims' associates before. Hold on for 1 second. Okay, sorry about that. I had to take a phone call. Spam caller. On December 23rd, 2022, pursuant to that search warrant, I received historical records for the 8458 phone number from the AT&T from the time the account was opened in June 2022. After consulting with Cast SA, I was able to determine the estimate locations for the 8458 phone number from June 2022 to present. The time period authorized by the account by the courts. The records for the 8458 phone number shows that the 8458 phone number utilizing cellular resources that provided coverage to the 1122 King Road residents on at least 12 different occasions prior to November 13th, 2022. This is why they believe that he was scoping out, planning, and plotting what he was going to do on November 13th. However, just because his phone pinged from the same tower close that provides coverage to the King Road residents does not definitively mean he was at that house on November 13th. Even the camera footages, what we've seen here on the internet, do not verify that's Bryan's Elantra. Think of it what you wish. All of these occasions, with an exception of one, occurred in the late evening and early morning hours of the respective days. So again, his defense is claiming that he liked to take midnight drives. Not midnight drives, you guys know what I mean, late night drives alone. Late night drives alone. Right here, it says that all of these occasions of the 12, with an exception of one, occurred in the late evening and early morning hours of the respective days. Now, this could actually line up with what the defense is saying. You know, he was taking late night drives, early morning drives, whatever you want to say. It says right here that his phone pinged from those 11 times, right? From the time period of late night into early morning. One of these occasions, on August 21st, 2022, the phone utilized cellular resources providing coverage to the King Road residents at approximately 10:34 p.m. to 11:35 p.m. Am I the only one that's noticed that this is like an hour and 1 minute inquiries? Even hourly inquiries? It's just one thing that I've noticed. Maybe it's my OCD. So he was they believe that he was in the area on August 21st, 2022 for about 1 hour and 1 minute. But still, that does not put him at 11:22. It just means that he's in the same area. At approximately 11:37 p.m. on the same day, Kohberger was stopped by Latah County Sheriff's Deputy C.P.L. Duke, as mentioned above. The 8458 phone number was utilizing cellular resources consistent with the location of the traffic stop during that time. and this was on Farm Road and Pullman Highway. Okay, well, he was pulled over, and that verifies that he was indeed in the area. And it would be interesting to know what he told the sheriff's deputy, Duke. Because usually whenever you're at a traffic stop, they ask, where are you going? Where are you heading? Where are you coming from? Where are you coming from? You know, I'm sure that information is not going to be released to the public, or it's yet to be released to the public if he did indeed say anything. But it would be interesting to know what he told the officer, deputy sheriff, where he was heading from at the time of him being pulled over. The 8548 phone number was utilizing cellular resources. I've already read that. Further analysis of the cellular data provided showed the 8458 phone number utilized cellular resources on November 13th, 2022, consisted with the phone traveling from Pullman, Washington to Lewiston, Idaho via U.S. Highway 195 at approximately 12:36 p.m. Okay. Further analysis of the cellular data provided showed that his phone cellular resources on November 13th, 2022, consistent with the phone traveling from Pullman, Washington into Lewiston, Idaho. So this was earlier. Well, actually, you know what? No, this was the same day as the homicides. The following afternoon at approximately 12:36 p.m. Again, his phone utilized cellular resources that would provide coverage to Kate's Cup of Joe coffee stand. Kate's Cup of Joe coffee stand, located at 810 Port Drive, Clarkston, Washington. Surveillance footage from this chef store located at 820 Port Drive, Clarkston, Washington, and adjacent to Kate's Cup of Joe. It's a lot to say. Showed a white Hyundai Elantra consistent with suspect vehicle 1. Drive past Kate's Cup of Joe at a time consistent with the cellular data from the 8458 phone number, or 8548 phone number. I'm getting tongue-tied. At approximately 12:46 p.m., the 8458 phone then utilized the cellular data in the area at Albertson's grocery store at 400 Bridge Street in Clarkston, Washington. Surveillance footage obtained from the Albertsons showed that Kohberger exited the white Elantra consistent with suspect vehicle 1 at approximately 12:49 p.m. Interior surveillance cameras showed that Kohberger walked through the store, purchased unknown items at the checkout, and approximately leave at 1:04 p.m. Kohberger's possible path of travel is depicted below. Okay. Additional analysis of records for the 8458 phone number indicated that between approximately 5:20 5:32 p.m. and 5:36 p.m. Was this on November 13th? I'm assuming it is. It's on the same day as November 13th. The phone utilized cellular resources that provided coverage to Johnson, Idaho. The 8458 phone then stops reporting to the network from 5:36 p.m. to 8:30 p.m. That is consistent with the 8458 phone being in the area, and the phone traveled in the hours immediately following the suspected time of the homicides occurred. So hold on a second. 5:32 p.m. and 5:36 p.m. approximately, the phone utilized cellular resources that provided coverage to Johnson, Idaho. The phone then stops reporting to the network from approximately 5:36 p.m. to 8:30 p.m. What was Kohberger doing in Johnson, Idaho? Move my mic closer. What was he doing in Johnson, Idaho? And this was on the same day? Yeah, the same day. You would have to really question if that's when, between this time period, between 5:36 and 8:30, almost 3 hours he was in Johnson, Idaho. What was he doing? Coverage, start report. Because he turned his phone off. He turned his phone off again, or turned it on airplane mode again for 3 hours. What was he doing in those 3 hours? Was he trying to cover his tracks? Allegedly. Was he trying to rid any evidence, get rid of the clothing, the weapon? Was he trying to cover something up? Again, you have to explain. If you're just out taking drives, nothing wrong. It's not illegal to take a drive in your car. You are an American citizen. You have every right to do so. You can drive the wheels off that motherfucker. But if you're not doing anything nefarious, why would you need to disconnect your phone from the tower? Unless, of course, there's a reasonable explanation. Maybe the coverage is spotty. I don't know. I don't live in Pullman, Washington, or Moscow, Idaho. But why would you be turning your phone off for three hours? And you can do a lot within 3 hours. What was he doing in Johnson, Idaho? Let's pull up Johnson, Idaho. I'm curious to know where this is. Thank you for joining if you have tuned in. Also, if you have if you're watching on the replay, welcome. Share your thoughts and opinions in the comments below. Tell me what you think of this information. That's so weird. You know, this is why I like to go over the probable cause affidavit. I know that it gets repeated a lot. It gets thrown out. It's not the bread of glory, but it's the closest thing that we have thus far. That's the closest thing. Not everything in the probable cause affidavit should be held to be complete facts because it's just enough to get them arrested. But this is coming directly from the probable cause affidavit. What was he doing in Johnson, Idaho? On the same day, November 13th, he turned his phone off between 5:36 p.m. and 8:30. He turned it on airplane mode. So what was he doing there? Is this a remote location? Is there any rivers in Johnson, Idaho? Any national parks? I'm looking at it right now. Well, I do see that there are several water. I want to get to the city. Okay, so Johnson, Idaho, from Pullman, Washington. There's Moscow. So it's not too far away. Let me show you the screen. So over here, where this red dot is, that's Johnson, Idaho. And if you go west, you're going to go through, I believe, Moscow eventually. And then go over to... Wait, hold on. Did it say Johnson, Washington or Johnson, Idaho? No, it says Idaho. Up here is Moscow. So there's two ways to get to it. Go straight into Moscow, and then Johnson is over here. It's 1 hour and 46 minutes away. So from he turned his phone off for 3 hours. Was he trying to cover his tracks, make sure that he was not seen going through Moscow or in the area of Moscow? Or did he take this route down here? I don't know. One would think if he was trying to not have any associations with Moscow, he would take this area down here or this route down here. This is 1 hour and 46 minutes. It's quicker too, opposed to going through Moscow. But if you go over here to Johnson, Idaho, looks like it's a very remote place. Okay. The phone utilized cellular resources that provided coverage to Johnson, Idaho. Additional, I want to be sure I'm reading this right. Did he actually go to Johnson, or was it that's just where his phone pinged at? The 8458 phone number then stops reporting to the network at approximately 5:36 p.m. to 8:30 p.m. and traveled in hours immediately following the homicides. PM, the 8458 phone number utilized. So maybe he didn't go directly to Johnson, but he was in this area. His phone used a tower that's in Johnson, Idaho. If he did, this would be a good place to, you have a state park right here. So if he was trying to rid some evidence, then I'm sure he could throw it in the river or, hide it out here in the wilderness. I'm not saying this is what happened. I don't know what Kohberger did. If he did do anything, I'm not claiming to know anything. This is just simply my opinion, and I'm speculating. But if he did, or if he was in the area of Johnson, Idaho, then my guess, this would be a good place to dispose any type of evidence, clothing, bury it, throw the knife in the river for it never to be seen again. If that knife goes in that river, it's probably never going to be found. I think that who brought that up? That conversation where they think that Kohberger shipped back the knife. I think Lisa K, you thought that Kohberger shipped back the knife to Amazon. That would be pretty stupid. And plus you wouldn't be able to ship it back without the knife sheath. You wouldn't be able to, I don't think they would accept it without the knife sheath, which the knife sheath is in police custody. So I don't think that's the case. Here was an aerial view. I'm just looking at this area, this national park, Downshart National Park. I'm butchering that name. I'm not saying it right. Huh. So his phone, let's bring it back into focus. His phone pinged at a tower near Johnson, Idaho. On December 27th, 2022, Pennsylvania agents recovered the trash from Kohberger's family's residence located in Albrightsville, Pennsylvania. That evidence went into the Idaho State Lab for testing. On December 28th, 2022, the Idaho State Lab reported that DNA profile obtained from the trash and the DNA profile obtained from the sheath identified a male as not being excluded as a biological father of suspect profile. This is where a lot of people, this is where the controversy comes in. How did they link him back to the crime scene? This is how. This genetic genealogy. At least a 99.9998% of the male population would be expected to be excluded from the possibility of being the suspect's biological father. Based on the information, I'm requesting an arrest warrant to be issued for Bryan C. Kohberger. There's his birthday and what he's being accused of. So again, he's being accused of 4 counts of first-degree MURDER of Madison Mogen, Kaligan Calvez, Xana Kernodle, and Ethan Chapin. So again, what do you guys think about this information that we went over today? Toxic Orchard. No, you're good. Just rewind. Catch it on the replay. Listen to me in the background, whatever you need to do. Closest tower, I would think. Yeah. You know, does this help or hurt his alibi? Because the way the PCA tracks exactly, well, almost exactly where his phone pinged at, and then aligned it with the vehicle, and now we're hearing that the defense is saying, well, he was out taking a midnight drive, he was out driving late. Well, it just kind of implemented yourself into that crime, you know what I mean? But has this music been playing the entire time? I'm sorry about that, guys. If the music has been playing this entire time, I hope that you could hear me. I forget to turn it down whenever I'm using my new mic, my blue mic that I have right here. So I hope that you were able to hear me, but sound off in the comments below. Tell me what you think about this information. Like, share, and subscribe for more information on the IDAHO4 case, more coverage, as well as other true crime cases and topics. If you would like to email and get a hold of me, my email is Seraphicpathways@yahoo.com, which is scrolling below. It will also be in the description box below of this video. If you want to reach out for a private reading, you can reach me at that email, or you can go directly to my website, Seraphicpathways.wixsite.com/Seraphic If you want to donate to this channel, my birthday is coming up pretty soon. If you want to throw me some birthday love, my Cash App and my PayPal are going to be included within the description box below this video as well. And scrolling below, okay, again, my birthday is coming up on the 15th. It's not required, but if you want to show some appreciation, I really do appreciate you and your support. It doesn't help not to mention the amounts of times he drove by the home. Yep, I could see that. But then again, the part that it said that, you know, his phone was pinging out of the 12 times, 11 of them were in the early morning and late night. I wonder if his defense purposely said, well, they looked at that and they were like, yeah, he likes to take midnight drives, you know? And even the way they phrased it, it was in the late night of November 12th into November 13th. Finding their way around it. Anyways, guys, thank you for tuning in. Thank you, Toxic, for your commentary. Have a good rest of your Tuesday, and I will catch you in the next podcast.